Hello and welcome to the WTR On the Horizons podcast. I'm your host, Joe Brunetto, Director of WTR Horizons and Business Analyst here at Water Tower Research. In today's episode, I'm joined by Brett Pojunis, Chairman and CEO of GPO Plus, ticker symbol GPOX. Good morning, Brett, and thank you for joining us on the podcast today.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to share our story.
Absolutely. So we recently launched our initiation of coverage on GPO Plus, and I'm looking forward to taking a deeper dive into the company's story, the strategy, the growth opportunities. So let's really just jump right into it here. Brett, for listeners who might be new to the GPX story, can you start by giving us a quick overview of who you are, what you do, and the core markets you serve?
Sure. So let's start with this. If I had to break it down and make it really simple, we distribute products to gas stations and convenience stores. Doesn't sound sexy. The sexy part is how we get those products, how we select those products, how we distribute those products. And so to kind of give you some background, in April of 2023 is when we started with our new DSD, direct store distribution model. And we learned a lot. I mean, we got our teeth kicked in. We learned a lot of lessons. We made a lot of mistakes. But at the end of it, we put together one hell of a business model that we've been executing on, and we're really proud of that. So DSD is what's called direct store distribution. So unlike broadline distributors or drop shippers that just send things out, we send our drivers into the store every single week. We go to the different areas where we have our products. They take a before picture and after picture, and they replenish all the products that were sold the previous week. All that information is then stored in our system called Prism, which is our AI technology. And all that information is, of course, shared with our retail partners. Now, our retail partners love it because we solve so many problems for them. I mean, if you think about it, from the first thing that we do of going to the store, we take away all the onus of having to receive a package, depalletize it, put it in the system, restock the shelves, and more importantly, reorder. Since we're there weekly, we have eyes on all the products. We have all the inventory in the vans. We can replenish it right then and there. So we're solving a tremendous amount of problems right off the bat. So that's our main formal business right now is DSD, direct store distribution. And then I'll put it this way. I challenged my team. I said, listen, we're going to get really, really good at DSD. I didn't put a time frame on it, and the litmus test is once we start putting out significantly less fires, we're doing well. And so we have SOPs for everything. And so we got to a point in December of 2024 where we started to feel very comfortable about our business model. And it was the first time in years, and this is so hard because I'm the shiny new toy guy, right? So to stay so laser focused on DSD for that long and really understanding that business was challenging for me and some of my team members. But in December, we said, you know what, we are doing a lot better with the model. The model is getting more profitable. We're increasing our margins, across the board. We're lowering our costs across the board, and we have something that we feel is now scalable, and we can duplicate this nationwide. Currently, we service about 500 locations. I've got a target painted for 20,000 locations, and that's where I want to go. Our mission and our purpose is to be the largest DSD distributor nationwide for gas stations and convenience stores. We love the market. The TAM is massive. I had no idea when we started down this path how big the market was. $327.6 billion of in-store sales only, which is our target market. That does not include fuel sales, gas sales, etc. That's $859 billion. It's a much larger number. But if you look at just the in-store sales, it's $327.6 billion. But then another staggering number is the fact there's over 152,000 gas stations and convenience stores in the U.S. alone. And when you look at that number, about 60% or 91,000 are independent single store operators. So when you look at this landscape, there's a tremendous amount of opportunity for growth. But the one thing that we learned over the last few years while we were getting really good at DSD is we were able to identify what was now our target market. When you go to any gas station or convenience store, I don't care if you're in Jersey at Wawa or here at Rebels, wherever you go, look around. About 80 to 85% of all the products that you see, they're distributed by just a handful of distributors. Hackney, McLean, Frito-Lay, Coke, Pepsi, Red Bull, etc. But the other 15 to 20%, first off, that's a huge pain point for all these retailers and our retail partners. But it's also a massive opportunity that's a market that's highly fragmented that we can come in and completely consolidate, streamline, and take that pain away from our retail partners. So that's kind of us in a nutshell, and I hope I didn't ramble too much.
No, not at all. That was a perfect background, and I think a really great starting point for our listeners as well. So really great stuff there. So it sounds like kind of what you're talking about here is GPOX entering really almost a new growth phase. I'd love to maybe just hear a little bit more about what's driving that. What makes this moment in the company's journey a little bit different than maybe some of the earlier chapters?
For sure. Well, the early chapters, as I just mentioned, was really understanding the business and getting really, really good at DSD. And I know I drove my team nuts because we're just staying on point, on point. How can we make this better? We looked at every aspect of the business to try and, make it more efficient. How can we utilize AI technologies like our Prism platform? And I'll tell you, when we implemented AI, we saw over about a 3-4 month period, we've attributed maybe a 24% efficiency across the board for utilizing AI. That's route management, driver management, inventory management, just things that we didn't have, visibility on before. We do now, and it's really helped us understand the business. And so, as I mentioned, in December of 2024 is when we started to feel comfortable that the DSD business is going well. We've got it as efficient as we possibly can. Now let's look at other sales channels. So one of the things we talked about in a shareholder update in December was we wanted to launch a call center. We wanted to launch additional markets. We wanted to move all of our existing warehouse network from from swamp coolers to what's called ambient cooling, which is 70 degrees or below. Basically, it's a nice, cute way of saying we need air conditioning. And the reason we're doing the upgrade for the air conditioning is because that allows us to increase the product categories that we have. So if we wanted to sell beef jerkies, potato chips, even merchandise, merchandise like t-shirts and hats, we had to have ambient cooling because it can't be in a swamp cooler because it could be mildew or mold or whatever the case is. So since we're going to be upgrading our warehouse network globally anyway, why not add a cash and carry component when it makes sense? So we're adding the Distro Plus cash and carry, and we've completely reimagined how we're doing the cash and carry. So for those of you that aren't familiar, most major markets will have at least one. In Vegas, we have 4 cash and carries. And what they do is they cater towards your brick and mortar locations, your smoke shops, vape shops, independent gas stations, and convenience stores. And it's basically like a Costco, a B2B Costco, where people can go in, get all the products that they want that are relevant to their store, and then sell it. What we're doing that's completely different is instead of having like a more retail type of store, we have our warehouse, and then we have a showroom. And in the showroom, which we're still designing right now, by the way. So we want our retail partners to be able to come in there, sit down, and we have all the products around them on display so they can try every flavor, SKU, size, color, etc. And then through the Distro Plus wholesale portal, which is going to be on the tablet, we'll log right into their account. We'll already have their payment information stored and received, address if we need to deliver or distribute it to them. And then we'll place the whole order right there, pack it. It goes right down to the warehouse. They get the pick slip. They put the order together. If they have a vehicle, we can put in their vehicle. If it's too big, we'll deliver it for them. So it's a brand new way of thinking. So when you look at this, we have the call center. So we announced that recently that we have a call center here in Las Vegas. We have expansion for another site here in Las Vegas at our warehouse to double the size of our footprint on the call center. They're adding new sales channels. So instead of going after the national gas station chains and convenience store chains like we have been, like Yesway, all sub Texas born, now we're going after smoke shops and vape shops. And so it's a different sale. We're learning a lot about this industry. We're really excited about it. We have some really cool, clever marketing techniques or strategies that we're going to be implementing. And so that's one big, huge, new sales channel is the call center with the smoke shops and vape shops. And ultimately, they'll be calling on independent gas stations, convenience stores, and ultimately national chains. So we have that going on. We have the cash and carry component, which, depending on who you talk to on the senior team, like everyone's like really excited about one thing. Like, you talk to Kieran Nevitt, who's in charge of products. She's like, the cash and carry is going to push us over the edge. And, Michelle Nolan, same thing. She's like, I love this cash and carry idea. I think this is going to really, increase revenue dramatically. I like the call center. I'm an old school broker, right? So I like picking up the phone and making the dials. But then we also have different new strategies like direct to consumer websites, which we haven't done at all. We've done some marketplaces for our nutraceutical business, New Triumph, like Facebook and Etsy and eBay, all the different marketplaces. But now we're going to have a whole strategy with a direct to consumer business model where we're going to be able to talk to consumers, give them discounts, and not have to lose all of that revenue. So and all those margins. So that will help our overall margin blend increase dramatically. So yeah, and I think what I'm most excited about is we are going into growth, and so we are going to be onboarding new chains, new service areas, setting up new hubs. And what's kind of important to understand is how we're set up. So we actually acquired a company that put us into the DSD distribution business back in December of 2022. And as I mentioned earlier, we went live with operations in April of 2023. Well, during that time, there was one distribution center servicing this entire area from as far north as, Rapid City, South Dakota, as far south as, Texas, New Mexico, as far west as Gallup, New Mexico, and as far east as Des Moines, Iowa. And in that was our service area with one distribution center servicing all that. So when we looked at this, we knew that this was a huge opportunity because of how inefficient it was. So one of the first things we did is we went to more of a traditional hub and spoke model. We call mini hubs and regional hubs. And that's how we got started getting a lot more efficient. So now a driver can work from a mini hub or a regional hub and let's say hit, 60, 70 stores on a mini hub times 2 drivers. So you can conceivably hit, let's call it 300 to 400 stores, depending on the size of the mini hub. And the regional hub could do, 1,500 stores. So that infrastructure took a long time to figure out. We're still learning, but now it's starting to really move forward. But now we're really getting into the growth mode, and that's what I'm most excited about.
Excellent. Excellent. I love that. Again, really great background there. Love the enthusiasm, and I definitely share the excitement and the story as well because I can understand where you're coming from. So perfect there. And I think you brought up a lot of great points there that we're going to dive a little bit deeper throughout our whole call here. So
Sure.
I think that's a great transition there. So if we move on to some of that, what you mentioned there a little bit on, and especially on maybe some of the operational improvements, I know one of the standout updates that we saw in one of your last press releases was the gross margin climbing from 15% to
28.
20%. Yep.
Yeah.
So I mean, again, substantial improvement there. I know you just talked a little bit about this, but maybe if we go a little bit deeper, what changes or initiatives were maybe the most important in making that happen?
On the margin,
Yeah.
Kieran Nevitt. Kieran has been instrumental on increasing our margins, working with all of our vendors, building very strong vendor relationships. And she's got the pedigree, from coming from Duluth Trading Company and prior to that, Orvis. So she really understands that. And when she came in, she realized quickly that we are doing the best we can, but no, there's no experts. So she was kind of the expert that came in and really reviewed everything and made that happen. And I'm telling you, it's just the beginning. We're just getting started. She's only been with us for a little over a year and a half at this point, and we have a long way to go. And as we introduce new product categories, that also creates opportunities for us to do manufacturing. Now, when we manufacture products, and I'm sure we're going to talk about this, in some cases we can more than double our margins versus selling a vendored product. One of the best examples is our high cloud gummies. If we sell vendored products, we might be getting 28, 29. 30%. If there are gummies, it could be like 60%, like double that. It's massive. And so whenever we find an opportunity where we can create a product where it's brand agnostic and we can move those into our distribution network, then create the direct to consumer and then utilize our sales team to then further increase our sales footprint for each product, that's when we're cooking with gasoline, man. That's when we're really excited.
Awesome. Awesome. Excellent. Sounds like it for sure. And then, so one of the other items you mentioned was this warehouse upgrade and going into ambient temperature control, or pretty much what we call, right, air conditioning. So maybe talk a little bit how this impacted your margins or will impact your margins. Where are we in this upgrade cycle? Have you made some upgrades to warehouses, or are you going to be making them? And what's maybe some of what's the status there?
Sure. So let's start off with, we've added Las Vegas, so we're currently getting that converted into air conditioning. We're probably, 45, 60 days out from having the facility, the warehouse ready to go. And then once it's ready to go with pallet shelving and forklifts and everything else, well, then we can start getting the product in there and then we can, open up the cash and carry. In the interim, we are selling in Las Vegas, which we're really excited about. So we're getting this market established and getting it prepped for the cash and carry. In Lubbock, Texas, we announced that we did do that upgrade. So that is a new warehouse. Well, it's a year and a half old, so it's relatively new to us. And we're getting ready to put the cash and carry showroom together. And we're already operating our DSD business out of there. And it is, air conditioned. So we are now waiting to see what happens with the illustrious Texas legislation with their special sessions to see what's happening with the hemp industry. As many people are probably familiar, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, he basically put forward SB 3, Senate Bill 3, which was a total THC ban, and it passed. Luckily, Governor Abbott vetoed it and suggested that we go into a special session and adopt, pragmatic regulation for this industry. So we're waiting to see what happens on that front before we make any more capital investments into Texas. If it goes the way we want it to, where, we have a very robust beverage business in the alternative product space and we can still sell our products, there's things that we want too. I mean, we would love to see, again, a very pragmatic approach to regulation. 21 plus, of course. Packaging that's not, attracted towards children. Everyone agrees with that. When we do the COAs, the certificate of analysis, get it done by an FDA-approved lab, not somebody's nephew. We want to know what's in these products. And then, some people argue with me on this, but limit the doses. do you really need more than 50 milligrams per gummy? Take two if you're really that hard up. But if you limit the dosage, I think you're gonna, I think that's gonna be very goodwill for a lot of the legislatures that might be on the fence. So these are all very, again, I hate to sound like a broken record, but pragmatic and logical legislation that we would like to see adopted, because that gets rid of the bathtub gin, and the companies at us are already spending the additional capital to do it the right way. Now we'll have more of a level playing field, because again, we're getting rid of the people that are building these products and manufacturing them in basements and non-clean rooms and everything else. So we're hoping and very hopeful that we're going to come out of the special session, but with the state legislature in Texas adopting very good laws that we can then, continue operating in the great state of Texas. We'd love to. And if that happens, well, then we have a real opportunity to double down in Austin, because in Austin we have not only the existing chains, but that's where Texas born TXP Stores is headquartered. And, we're working closely with them. They've got stores in, not Albuquerque. They got stores in San Antonio, Austin, Dallas, and a few stores in Oklahoma. Great brand, by the way. If you get a chance, look at txpstores.com and just look at the inside of their gas station. When we talk about reimagining, convenience stores and gas stations, they did a great job. And so, since we already have a strong presence there, if things go well, I think Austin could end up being the biggest regional hub that we have. And then we probably add a cash and carry in Austin. I already mentioned Lubbock, and also probably in Dallas. And then we'll see what the future holds for Houston. There's a couple chains that we're talking to there. So I think that we have to just wait it out. It's a waiting game to see what happens there. And if things go well, we'll make the capital expenditures in Texas. If not, then we'll look at other markets. But please understand one thing, though. We got into this business and our foot gets in the door because of, I shouldn't do this because we're filming, but because of the Feel Good Shop Plus, right? This right here. You go to our website, gpoplus.com. You can see photos of the Feel Good Shop Plus. It's right next to the cash register in all these locations. You don't get better real estate. And so with that as our entree into these different stores and our main offering to kind of, get people interested, that's great. But in a year from now, Joe, I would love the alternative products that we sell now to be representative of less than 10% of our total revenue. I want to sell T-shirts and stuffed animals and windshield wipers and things that don't require an ID. And we're going to get there, but it takes a little bit of time to really add these new products. And we're doing all the right things now by, first and foremost, going to the ambient cooling so we can add these new product categories. And I think that, you'll see over the next, I don't want to put a time frame, but as we start to add new product categories, then we'll be diversifying down our alternative product business, which is a goal for myself and all the senior team management.
Awesome. No, obviously these things don't happen overnight, but it sounds like you're going in the right direction. So
Yeah.
great updates there, and appreciate you helping us out there. Brett, I know you talked a little bit about this already, earlier in the past couple of questions, but just want to make sure we're covering our bases, kind of on the operational and margin side. So any other changes you'd talk about in sourcing, logistics, or the vendor relationship that have also helped drive your improved margins?
Yeah, sure. I think that in order for the investment community to get as excited as our senior team is, you have to kind of look at our core business model and what we've been able to achieve. Most of the products, I think at this point, every single product we have from all of our different vendors are all on consignment, and we do what's called a scan-based trading model. So as products sell in the stores, we get the report. We do every 2 weeks, we do a remittance payment, and we do the POs as we need them. And so that's really helped us. The biggest thing it's helped out with is cash flow, because that's allowed us it's enabled us to scale without having that cost of having to finance the floor set every time we launch a new store or add a new product or a new category. And so I think that that's really interesting to understand the model. Now, that works for the alternative product space, but as we start entering into more traditional products, and certainly any new innovative products, we might not have that luxury, and we might have to raise some additional capital for inventory purposes. But for right now, that's how we've been able to scale this thing so quickly and really get more efficient as we get going. I think the other big aspect is you got to look at Prism. Prism is it's the brains behind GPO Plus. It's the AI. That's why we call ourselves an AI-powered distributor, is because we're utilizing all of this different data that we never really had access to or didn't have the ability to synthesize it like we do now when we can make data-driven decisions. And that's, as I mentioned earlier, that's really helped us with our efficiencies across the board. And it's only going to get better. We've barely scratched the surface. And, I challenge my team daily, like, let's not have AI be a talking point or a soundbite. let's embrace it and let's bring it into our life. And I'm not talking just chat GPT to look at emails and stuff. I'm talking like let's really use it and let's think of use cases that we can use to enhance each team member's ability and take away the mundane tasks so they can focus on more important things like strategy. So these are some of the things that we're doing every day. We're constantly innovating. And the other thing that we're doing for the first time, which is kind of why we're here with you guys now, is we're getting out to the investment community and sharing our story really for the first time. And I wanted to wait until we did this. And I know it's killed me because it's like, chicken or egg. Do you go out and start telling the investment community about your story before it's developed? Or do you want to go after it's a little bit more mature and you feel you've got something there? And then you want to go out and start sharing the story. So I encourage everybody to go to gpoplus.com and sign up for the GPOX Pulse, which is our newsletter. We're going to be launching a dedicated IR portal very soon. And as we start to get more active, you're going to see content. You're already seeing it now if you go to all of our social media pages. So if you go to Instagram or Facebook, LinkedIn, X, etc., you're going to see just in the last few weeks, we've been putting out more regular content, and that's going to continue. We've got a whole strategy where we've got a bunch of interviews lined up similar to this in the financial world that we're excited about. Different podcasts I'll be participating in. Some of them aren't even relevant to our business, but they've got good size audiences, and I think that they would like to hear about the story. So, and again, it's like you look at us right now. It's tough. I'm not going to lie. It's very challenging as an OTC QB company. It's tempting to want to take a private investment in a public entity, and do an uplisting to NASDAQ like everybody else right now. But I want to do it the right way. We've got the patience. We don't want to rush this because we've got what we feel is a massive business model. I mean, again, going back to that target market of the 15 to 20%, that's completely, underserved and underlooked. And the major distributors don't even want to waste their time with it. And we're looking at it as a $50 billion opportunity that's just sitting there, a massive niche that nobody's going after. So yeah, we're excited. And again, the best way we can do this is by people signing up and joining our newsletter and following us on social media, and more importantly, sharing our content, helping us get the word out there.
Excellent. Perfect. Again, appreciate you kind of closing that out for us there, at least on that topic. And I kind of wanted to switch gears a little bit and just, again, jump into a little bit about what you talked about in the beginning of the call too. And I know this is, one of your favorite topics. So we'll talk about the new call center a little bit more. So
Yeah. I
So,
love it.
at least from what we're seeing, and I know what we talked about in our initiation of coverage report, which we just mentioned, was that some industry best benchmarks suggest, revenue potential of about $75 to $100,000 per seat per month. How are your earlier results stacking up compared to those numbers?
Rome wasn't built in a day. And so, you got to work out kinks. I mean, one of the issues of being in the alternative product space is you have a lot of challenges, whether that's banking, credit card processing, e-commerce. So just working through all that stuff. That's why, we identified in December that we wanted to do it, and we officially launched, I believe, in May or June. In June is when we announced it. It's going slow, but it's funny because in some areas we had a crystal clear vision, and then we got, like Mike Tyson says, everyone has a plan until I punch him in the face. We got punched in the face, but we found all this opportunity. So in lieu of just doing the phone calls, we also set up a field team. So like a street team, people going door to door to the stores, and that's starting to yield some pretty solid results. One of the transitions that we didn't really foresee, as well as we should have, is all of our DSD products, like I showed you in the Feel Good Shop Plus, like we know exactly what those products are, but it's very limited. And so if we want to go to a smoke shop or a vape shop with such a small product catalog, they don't really take us as serious as we thought they would. So we've been working on, making our product catalog much more robust, especially with the cash and carry, because we are going to be adding a tremendous amount of SKUs to help service the retailers, in each of those markets. So it is going off a little bit slower, but we finally got our ducks in a row. And now, I think we're starting to really see sales improve on a weekly basis. We've got the whole call center in general is improving. We have daily meetings. We have lots of different training. Product knowledge and product understanding is something that we probably should have done better in the beginning. I take it for granted because I'm in this industry, so I just assume everybody knows everything about all these products. So the good news is we've got a lot of SOPs in place now, and we're ready to start filling all these seats here in our headquarters, and then over in our warehouse, we're hoping for like a mid to late September launch on an additional let's call it 12 to 14 seats. So we're right there. But the idea is you have to start and make all the mistakes you're going to make with a smaller number of people and then scale it out. Similar to what we did with DSD. I mean, we service about 500 locations weekly. Of that, if we make a mistake, it's so much easier to cure that mistake on 500 than it is 5,000 locations. So that's why we tried a lot of things and tried to break everything as quickly as we possibly could so that we could, come up with a solution for that with 500 stores and then roll that out to all 5,000 and beyond.
Gotcha. No, no, makes total sense. And so it seems like this, the call center strategy is really fitting well into, the overall customer acquisition and really retention strategy there. So that's
It
great.
is. Yeah. And it's also opening other doors for us because, initially we had blinders on saying, let's do this single purpose for the call center. Now we're talking about, potentially increasing our number of seats to add for BPOs for other companies, having dedicated teams like the High Cloud team to sell just that product and build, the footprint that way. So it's kind of a choose your own adventure. We're still trying to figure it out. But the main thing is we're selling, and the main thing is we're increasing sales, and now we have new sales channels, and that's only going to increase as we get better.
So if we just talking about the tech side quickly on the call centers, are you integrating tools like CRM systems, AI, or any analytics to really get the most out of the sales operation, or at least thinking about that?
Dude, our tech stack is insane. Held together with Scotch tape and glue, but we have a pretty significant and pretty sophisticated tech stack. Yes, we do use a CRM. We're way beyond just the old-fashioned, getting a Salesforce.com or Zoho instance installed. We've got AI attached to that. We've got a lot of technologies that are integrated. So even like when a call is made, if it's a wrong number, automatic disposition of the lead onto the next lead. So we got the calling integrated. So yeah, everything's fully integrated. And again, there's still room to improve and room to get better. But yeah, we're really leveraging technology. We're doing a good job.
Perfect. Awesome. Awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Love
And
that.
by the way, it's not, I'm sorry to interrupt, but it's not just the call center aspect, but it's also the emails, the SMS, the social, and it's how we're engaging potential customers, even investors. We're getting that the whole IR program or our shareholder success team fired up. So yeah, it's an all systems go time right now, and it's fun, so.
No, I think that's a great point. I appreciate you bringing that up too. Like you said, it's not just calls, right? There is the email blast and the SMS, and I think that's all important as well. So
Yeah,
excited to see that scale up as well. So again,
yeah,
appreciate the update there.
it's a full 360 approach with everything that we're doing. So, one of the other things we're doing is starting other projects. So, we pose the question, how do we become an indispensable partner for our retail partners? Well, providing a great white glove service, that's a good start. But what happens when we start driving traffic? When we start driving customers to our retail partners, that's going to change everything. And then when we can start identifying what products they're buying and what products we're using to incentivize them to go to that one store over another store, or different let's call it marketing platforms that we're creating, like Smoke Shops Plus. Smoke Shops Plus. We're developing it live. It's not even live yet, but I don't care. It's going to be basically weed maps for smoke shops, and what we're going after is smoke shops near me. When people search that on their phone, and we can immediately get them to a smoke shop based on the products that they're looking for. Why would we do that? Why would we spend all this time and effort and resources building this platform? Well, because I control the advertising, and I have store locators. So if I say I want to take this product and put it on our store locator and someone's trying to find it, now there's a whole network of stores that we can find that product in. And so there's a lot of cool things that we're doing that I have to explain to investors pretty seriously because they don't understand it at first. But there is a method to madness, and we're at that stage now where we have our core business of DSD. We've got some ancillary things going on that's attributing to more top line revenue, and now we have the levity and the ability to go out and try new things, and that's what I love. That helps satisfy my ADHD and everything else. So.
No, I agree as well. And so again, really exciting stuff there. So great I appreciate the update there. Let's again, I know we're coming, closer to the latter half of the call here, and let's just maybe switch gears into some of the revenue targets and scaling that we talked about in our report. And I think we talked about maybe a near-term goal of hitting 1,500 stores at about maybe 2,000 per month per store, and about a $36 million annualized run rate. Again, just want to confirm that with you. What's the
Yeah,
timeline to get there? Maybe what are the biggest levers you could pull to make that happen?
sure. So a couple of things that I mentioned earlier. One is the percentage or the number of stores that are independent. That's our real goal. I mean, we would love to be able to go to all these independent gas stations and convenience stores with a real plan, and we can say, hey, listen, we can help you solve all these problems, everything from POS systems to their own personal cleaning supplies and stuff like that. So wherever there's a pain point, we want to be able to at least have the opportunity to come in and try and find a solution for it. That's one aspect. Uh, but when you look at like the revenue component, like you mentioned with the 1,500 stores, that's just a milestone towards our 20,000 store goal at 3,000 a month. Because you start looking at the revenues. Like right now, some of our stores, not many, but some of our stores do over $5,000 a month per store in gross sales. Well, when we add more product categories, what should innately happen is we increase our per store sales month over month. And maybe we can get to a point where you're 7, 8, 9, God willing, $10,000 a month per store in some of these metropolitan areas. We would never do that I don't want to say never, but it'd be very challenging to do that in the rural areas, but in metropolitan areas we can. Let's just say we're wrong and we'll go down to $3,000 a month. Well, 20,000 locations, 3,000 a month, that's 60 million gross, $720 million annualized. That's a big number. And it's not like it's that crazy of a milestone to achieve. There's companies out there servicing 50,000 locations. And I think that the way we're going to scale up is going to be through national chains of gas station convenience store chains. Of course, that's how we're going to scale up and get 150 stores at a clip here and 327 stores there. And that's how we're going to get there quickly. But once we get to that critical mass, then we have the MOQs, the minimum order quantities that we're buying all these products for, that we can then go after the independents and put together a very strong offering, They're not going to be able, like a single store won't be able to get the same prices that a Circle K or a 7-Eleven will get, but it won't be so skewed because they're treated poorly because they're only one location. But where we can participate at a higher level is at the service level. So the white glove service, we can offer that as well. And then for the independents, we plan on rolling out an entire suite of products to make their lives a lot easier. Because again, we can do the research on the products. We'll look at the sales velocity. We already have the data. And I got news for you. I think we're a data company in the next 3 or 4 years, to be candid with you. So there's a lot of opportunity on the horizon. We're super excited about it.
Awesome. No, love it. And so when you think about that a little bit more, how do you think about maybe the balance between adding more stores versus increasing that sales per store?
That is a great question, and that's something that we're going to constantly work on. On one hand, I want to scream from the rooftops, we need more products and more SKUs. And then the other rooftop, I'm screaming, we need to be in more stores. So it is tough. And I think the way to do it is what we've been doing is we'll be onboarding chains like we did with Texas Born. And I think we need to onboard probably another dozen chains, and that could be 35 locations to 500 locations. And we need to run through all the trials and tribulations so that we can get to a point where we can start to really anticipate what those trials and tribulations are going to be. Is it an invoicing issue? Is it a delivery issue where the managers don't know what's going on? And like all these different problems, until we experience them, we don't know what they are, and we can't create an SOP for it. So I think that that's going to be really interesting as to how we roll this whole thing out. So the chains, and then innately we'll be adding more product categories as we have the ability to house them in our ambient cooling. And I think another great thing is, and it's also pretty undertapped and underserved, is the retailer private label business. Because most of these gas stations and convenience stores, they don't have distribution, they don't have warehousing. And so if we can come in and fill that void for them, that puts us in a really good, unique situation, because we're helping out the retail partner, whether it's a single store or a chain with 100 stores. We can help them out with a lot of stuff. And I'll give you some examples that most people don't even think of. Hell, I didn't even think about it. But let's say we're selling beef jerky. Well, one of our national chains, when they have their private label beef jerky orders, it's a per store order. So it's a minimum order quantity per store. Whether you're in the middle of Dallas or 40 miles outside of Lubbock, Texas, you have to order the same amount of beef jerky. Well, one of the things that we can do is, instead of doing an MOQ per store, we can just take it into our warehouse and then we can distribute it. And then we're also providing another level of service where we're looking at the expiration dates. And if we know that these beef jerky sticks are going to expire in 45 days, we'll take them out, we'll put fresh ones in, and we'll put them into a higher sales velocity store. Who else is doing that level of service? No one. And so that, again, it's labor intensive, but we're trying to, every time we get something that's labor intensive, we're trying to figure out a way to utilize AI to bring those costs down and make it more efficient. So I hope I answered your question with that one.
No, absolutely, definitely did. Yeah, hit some really good points there as well. And I think just to kind of maybe close that part out on the scaling, are there really any maybe specific regions or verticals you've especially focused on as you scale?
Yeah, good question. So if you look at the map right now, like I mentioned, we're in Texas. I hope this is not goofy, but we're in Texas, New Mexico. We go as far north as, Wyoming and South Dakota. As far east as Des Moines, Iowa, and then a lot of places in between, Kansas, etc. I want to start filling in that existing service area. Oh, and of course now Las Vegas, which is online now, but is really coming online in a big way in 45 to 60 days. So I want to fill in the different service areas with as many new retail customers as we possibly can. But we're not opposed if we see a great opportunity in the Carolinas or in Florida or in New York or Jersey. Like if we see an opportunity that makes sense, then we'll do that, even though it's not contiguous with what our current region is. So we're pretty much, product agnostic. We're looking again for products that have a high sales margin and high sales velocity and a high margin. And some sort of like unique value proposition, something that's different. And we've got a lot of really cool ideas brewing in GPOX Labs. GPOX Labs is kind of like where we just put all of our technology and ideas. It starts there, it gets developed there, and then we bring it out of the labs and put it into production. But we have some pretty cool projects that we're working on that if they work, they're going to be great gimmicks and it's going to attribute to even more revenues. So not just at the store level, but also online.
Excellent. Perfect. Again, I appreciate the thoughts there. I think that really gave us a good overview in terms of kind of the scaling and some of your revenue targets.
Yeah.
Again, as we come, a little bit closer to the top of our call here, we'll get into a little bit of some speculative commentary here, but just kind of given the fragmentation in the markets that we've talked about, have you looked at acquisitions as a way to accelerate growth? If so, maybe what does an ideal acquisition look like for GPOX?
Sure. Another great question. I mean, the acquisitive growth strategy is something that I love. That's how we got to where we are right now, and we intend on doing that. We've acquired a nutraceutical company called New Triumph. We acquired Betterment Retail Solutions, which is the DSD company. And now I'd be lying to you if we're not constantly on the grind looking for different opportunities. Specifically, we're looking for distributors. They don't need to be DSD, but we're looking for distributors that are either, again, they don't have to be within our existing service area. It would be nice if they are, and I'd be probably more motivated to do it if they are. But every time we acquire a distributor, what are we also acquiring? We're acquiring, new stores, new customers, and we're also acquiring the product lines that they have. So, whether it's a continuation of an existing agreement with a vendor, or, in some cases, they might have their own products that they manufacture, kind of like our High Cloud or our Herbarol. And so we're increasing our product SKU. So yeah, that's the fastest way to get to 20,000 stores for sure. But we're also not opposed to buying out products. If there's products that make sense and it has good distribution, good sales, and can help, our top line revenue and our margins, then we'll look at that as well. So yeah, we're always in the market for, looking at great opportunities. So if you know of any, let us know. Anyone that's watching this, just send us some ideas of companies that you think would be a good fit for GPOX. We'd love to take a look at them.
Awesome. Excellent. Love that. Cool. So let's as we come to start kind of closing things out here and we look at maybe future outlook and get some final thoughts. With this, the infrastructure upgrades in place, the growing sales operations, really everything we talked about in our call today. What's next for GPOX over the next 6 to 12 months?
Okay, well, over the next 6 to 12 months, I think the main thing is going to be growth. And the secondary thing is also going to be, the investment community, because we want to get our story out there. People that know me know I've been around the public markets for a long time. I like going out and talking about what we're working on. And I'll tell you, when investors take a close look, I think they're really going to like what they see with GPO Plus. I mean, we are truly the diamond in the rough. We've been out quietly building our business model. We've been putting out press. We've been staying compliant, but we haven't been in a position to really scream from the rooftops like, hey, here's what we're doing and we're here to stay until now. Now, we really wanted to make sure we had a strong DSD business model, and we wanted to make sure that our crackpot ideas actually came to fruition and they're starting to really bear fruit. So the next 6 to 12 months, one is going to be growth. We want to increase the store count. We'd love to see 1,500 stores We'd love to see even more than that, and I think we can do that, and we will achieve that. Um, and in addition to the DSD business, getting the call center really rocking and rolling, my goal, one of my personal goals, is I'd like to be cash flow positive as soon as humanly possible. And I challenge my team on this daily. We just had a great powwow here in Las Vegas with most of our senior team, and some of the people that couldn't make it were here virtually. And we went over what the priorities are and what our main focus is going to be from a leadership standpoint and governance. And yeah, I think that, when you look at the call center aspect, that has the ability to take care of our current burn, which is about $75,000, $85,000 a month. So we're not cash flow positive yet, but we are getting closer and we are getting better. And as you look at like the management efficiencies of what we've been able to report, in our last Q and beyond, or I'm sorry, not beyond, and more recent, is we are getting better, we are getting more efficient. So yeah, those are the two main things: growth, and then really letting the investment community and our shareholders know what's going on. So expect a lot of content coming from GPO Plus. Please follow me personally. Everything's at Pojunis, my last name. And GPO Plus is at GPO Plus or /GPO Plus. And we're putting out different content on different platforms. We're gonna make you sign up for all of them. So please do that, and please sign up for our newsletter so you can stay abreast of everything that's going on with GPOX.
Awesome. Awesome. Love it and excited for it as well. Last one here. Let's see. Anything we missed, Brett, that you really would want to highlight here? Anything you just want to talk again about just at the end here that's maybe you feel is misunderstood about the story, and just anything you want to encourage people to pay attention to?
Go back in economics, yeah, we can call it economics. And if you show me any time in history where you had, a lot of rapid growth and it's highly fragmented, that's usually when you see like a major consolidation period. And that's what we're looking at that 15 to 20%. And where the rapid growth came into play was during COVID. Well, all gas stations, I don't want to say all because I don't want to speak in too much generalities, but most gas stations and convenience stores were considered essential and they were open. And what was happening, especially in the rural areas of America, people would say, hey, I can't get this product. Can you help me with this? I can't get this product. And so the store manager would talk to their district manager and the territory managers and ultimately get to the product category managers. And they would start, trying to find different voids to fill by getting new products in. Well, that wasn't sustainable, but it's what we all had to do to get through COVID. Now you have these new product categories that wouldn't typically be in the gas station or convenience store, and it's causing a problem for a lot of the category managers because they don't have the supply chain for it. We do. So that's part of what we're going to be trying to come in and consolidate on the target market that we're going after with that 15 to 20%. And again, Joe, it's just representative of such a huge opportunity from a revenue standpoint that, we're all thrilled about. So that's one big aspect. As far as other things that I think our investors and the investment community would be interested in would be the amount of blue ocean that we have. Because again, we've been able to increase revenue by just our last our last Q, which was 9 months ending. We're up $350,000 compared to the year before in a non-growth year just by getting more efficient. And keep in mind a couple things. We always forget about this in-house and on our team is we've gotten rid of a couple of stores. We've gotten, whether that was because of jurisdictional issues with the hemp industry or kratom industry. And so the store count's lower. The number of stores that we can sell some of our products in has gone down, but yet our revenues have gone up, our margins have gone up. So that's telling you, and it's telling the community that we definitely are really understanding this business and being able to see the trends and take advantage of those trends. And on an ongoing, I think that I would like to invite everyone to be a shareholder of GPO Plus and, follow our story. And maybe we just get on your radar now and we got to earn your trust and earn, you parting with your hard-earned dollars to invest and believe in what we're doing. And so get us on your radar and start to pay attention because, we're not going to let you down.
Awesome. Awesome. I love that. I think that brings us right at time for today. So Brett, thanks so much for joining us today. I really appreciate the time. I know this takes a lot of time out of your day. You're a busy guy. So it was really great speaking with you today.
Well, Joe, and thank you for creating a platform like this with Water Tower. I think this is fantastic. One of the biggest challenges that we have, especially as an OTC company, is getting our story in front of people. So I applaud you and your team for what you guys are doing. And I can't wait to come back on the show again and give you another big update.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We're looking forward to having you back on the show soon. And just as you mentioned, I want to thank everyone for tuning in here today. Definitely take the chance to go on our website and look at the IOC for GPOX. Again, a lot of what we talked about here today is in there, and maybe a little bit more you'll get to to learn a little bit more about the GPOX story. So again, encourage everyone to go look at that. Don't forget to subscribe to On the Horizon and visit www.watertowerresearch.com to stay up to speed on all of our small cap written research reports, podcasts, fireside chats, and conference schedules. We'll see you next time on WTR On the Horizon.